Story of that.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to see you. Someplace close by.
We got that one seat here.
Yeah. What incredibly cool idea that was. That number 74.
So I don't know what that means.
Too far back. Hopefully it's in the same game and he can't figure it out.
At 6 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call a meeting to order. First item will be a roll call.
Brown.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Gerke.
Here.
Graves.
Here.
Now.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Say the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone take a moment of silence if they like. To the agenda, do you want to change the order?
I got too much tonight.
Take a motion to approve the agenda, the new agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Everyone's had a chance to review the previous meeting's minutes. If there are no additions or corrections, they'll stand approved as presented. Announce the visitors. Katie, do you have?
We have Paul Bradshaw, I believe, was it Matt Hall?
Matt Hall.
Matt Haldeman.
Yeah.
Haldeman with Morton Buildings, Christian Delozier with Mike Keith Insurance, Faith Bemis in the back, and Flo back there.
Thank you. There was no public comment sent in, so we'll move on to the property and casualty insurance.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to go near the top. I've got another meeting in Lexington that I need to get to before 8 o'clock, so I appreciate you accommodating me.
Good with the highway patrol.
No, well, yeah, and try to skip any deer would be good.
That would be the key there.
Yeah. So what I'm passing out here is kind of a state of the union of the insurance industry. And if you'll look at the cover page, you'll see on there that that's the cover of Time magazine, March 24th of 1986, when the insurance industry was in a state of crisis. I don't know if anybody in here remembers it. I was too young to remember it. I was probably trying to just not wreck my bicycle at that time. But we are in this, the insurance industry is in the most challenging times that it's been since 1986. So many of us have seen the different hurricanes and the wildfires in not only Colorado a couple years ago, but also in Hawaii. Then just a couple days ago, we had a big event, and I've always kind of considered, I guess, fall and spring are the tornado times. But the last 2 or 3 years, it was either last year or the year before, St. Louis got a great big wind gust, and then it went through Kentucky, and then we had another one in Tennessee just the other day. So what does that mean to you all? Well, as these big events continue to happen, the insurance companies buy insurance themselves. It goes into the reinsurance layer. So what we've put together here for you is all information that we've sourced from like the NOAA, which is really fascinating if you ever want to look at it. That first inside sheet there, where it's got those graphs. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. But on this page, if you look at those graphs and you see the 2017, where that purple mark spikes up real high, almost $400 billion that year. That was the year that we had Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria all in the same year. So 2023 is the red line. It hasn't quite finished yet. 2022 are the yellow dots. And the wildfires, they're probably not going to have an impact until next year or the year after that. If you go to this page with the quadrants, I want you to look at number 6. All of them are good information, but look at number 6. Escalating loss trends driven by catastrophes, severe weather, and large fires have outpaced rate increases. Carriers are expected to raise rates again and align with the increasing cost and close the gap. So not good news, but it's the state of the industry that we're in. And then on the back, you'll see we sourced or put our sources down there below. You can look at. So in addition, do you all have a page in the very back from MoPerm? Did I put that in there? I'm gonna pass these around. So MoPerm was formed in 1987, right after that year, 1986. Public entities couldn't get insurance. So the legislature came together in Missouri and formed MoPerm, stands for Missouri Public Entity Risk Managers. It's a risk pool. It's not technically insurance, but it acts and looks a lot like insurance. We've looked at them before for you guys, but their coverages are quite a bit different. They don't have a lot of the features that are included in your program. The reason I'm showing you this is if you look in that second paragraph, as has been widely reported in the press, insurers are increasing rates and property coverage in all areas. Missouri's not been immune from such rate increases, and rates in the state are increasing on an average of excess of 20%. Why am I showing you this and all of this stuff? To show you that the rates that we're bringing have gone up, but I'm not just bringing you information from your current carrier. I'm trying to bring you unbiased information from across the industry, showing you that it's not just your insurance company, it's not just Pettis County, it's everybody. Has anybody seen their homeowner's insurance rates? What happened to it? Yeah, a lot. We had a guy, I don't even know how this is legal. If it's all hearsay, I'm gonna look into it. But allegedly the insurance went from like $1,500 to $5,000 in 1 year. That's not even legal to do that, but that was the story. So my sister works in the firm and she is an operations powerhouse. She gets this information, brings it to me, and I always have to put it through the filter. Okay, so we'll move on. Your insurance program moved companies. Last year, there was an underwriting company. It still has the same brand name, Fire Plus. But last year, the underwriting company behind the scenes was called Allied World. This year, they've moved to a company called Munich Re. They are a huge company. They're also a reinsurer. So while the company was changing behind the scenes, we proactively went out to market to National Interstate. This company they do a lot of trucking and transportation, and they have an ambulance division. So we thought our team thought while we knew that there was going to be a change with your current program, it might be good timing to go out and look in the marketplace. And what you'll see, and we're not delivering these terms this evening, but if you want to go to the back page, you'll see the total premium for all lines at $235,324. So now I'm going to hand out the executive summary for your renewal. And there are two primary things that impact premium. That's rate and exposure. So the insurance companies file rates per 100 with the state of Missouri. But then if you guys, so that would be how the rate, and if they have to increase the rate, it's gonna be a higher rate per 100. Exposure would be, if we add a new ambulance, we would expect to pay more premium. If we increase the building values, we would expect to pay more premium. So you're gonna see both things apply here. So if you start at the very top on the property section, you'll see that the premium actually went down with the new company. They price things differently, so don't get too hung up on the premium per line. But look at the total insured value. Last year, 3,446,262. We ran through replacement cost estimators with the company. They made us do it last year. They made us do it again this year. And they increased the building values. It was mandatory by about $500,000. So that would be exposure in addition to any rate increases that would apply. So to keep the company, to check the company, if you all remember, you guys have a guaranteed replacement cost for all of your buildings. It's one of the nice features of this program. So just for easy example, if we have a building insured for $1 million with this program, if it costs $1.5 million or $2 million at the time of loss, this company pays you guaranteed replacement costs. It's very rare. There's only a handful of companies that will offer this type of product. So because it's guaranteed replacement cost, we're sensitive to the value that goes in there because it's a rating basis. So we ran our replacement cost estimators internally, and they actually came back higher than what the company used. So we used the companies to your benefit. Ours came in, the main building at 1,749,878. Theirs came in at like 1.4 million. So we just said, we like your numbers. So just sharing with you how we arrived at some of those figures. The deductible, we still have $500, which is very low. And most of the insurance companies are moving to wind and hail deductibles of a percentage, which would mean that it would be a percent of the total insured value. So on 3.9 million, if they put a 1% deductible, that'd be a $39,000 deductible, or a 2%, we'd be looking at what, 78,000? You have a $5,000 wind and hail deductible, still very low. $1,000 all peril, so theft, fire, vandalism, that's all 1,000. But if it's wind or hail, you have a 5,000, very low. Back in 2021, my team worked with Jamie and we did a full cost analysis of your deductibles, not only on the property, but on the autos. And it didn't make sense to increase them. There wasn't enough value, so we just have left them where they're at. If you want to go down to the inland marine, again, that's a rating basis, guaranteed replacement cost based on 850,000. That did not change. The public officials, this is where this program has different rates for public officials and general liability than your old program. The excess liability, that's going to be like your umbrella. The auto liability stayed the same. The pricing actually came down on the auto a little bit, which is unusual. But you'll see down on the first total, the premium from last year versus the premium this year. And then if you go down below, you've got the employee dishonesty. That's the crime policy of $500,000, and it rarely ever goes up. And then we have the cyber coverage down below. It did take a rate increase this year just because of the cyber environment. We got another quote for you. It's $600 less, but it's not nearly as good. Otherwise, I'd be bringing it for your approval. So I think staying with the current cyber product you've got. So you can see the total premium down there at the bottom for your 24-25 renewal. These next pages are all the schedules that we have gone through with Roy and Jamie. Does anybody have any questions for me? Anybody have any questions about what I was attempting to explain about the state of the industry and why the premiums have increased? And I don't expect to see any relief in the next few years.
All right, explain that public officials liability to me.
That's for the decisions that you all make right here. Well, it's included,
So that went up almost 3.5 times.
so, well, it's a different rating basis. Go all the way up at the top
Okay.
and look at the premium there. They don't rate as much on the property as your old company did, but they rate a lot more on the public officials and the employment practices liability. And the EPLI in the fire and ambulance world has continued to be challenging. EPLI is employment practices liability. That's hiring, firing, sexual harassment, discrimination, all those lovely things we love to deal with. So this company rates more heavily on the general liability. That's going to be based on your expenditures, your budget, and the number of runs. And historically, your all's number of runs and your budget has increased every year.
I hate to be stupid, but what is inland marine?
That is all of your portable equipment. So anything that that's gonna leave the building, that's not permanently
It's
attached.
just a strange term to me. We're
It's
so
a really
far from
old
the
term.
ocean.
They also call it portable equipment, the inland marine. It's a really old term that goes back to the days when we were floating over here on wooden boats. No joke. So I share this at times, not that it's gonna make the premium it won't make it any lower, but I'm gonna take a wag at the work comp is around 100,000. And when you add in the renewal premium here of 211,000, we come up with 311,000. Most of our low hazard industries that we insure should expect between 1% and 3% of gross revenue to protect the whole operation. You guys are running at around $9 million in revenue, which would make us right around 3%. So for every dollar we're bringing in, we're putting 3 pennies aside to protect every time you guys get in an ambulance, $5 million liability limits, all the properties that you've got. That may not make it, doesn't make it go down anymore, but in perspective, it's 3% of your gross revenue that you're bringing in. Now that doesn't include work comp, because that's, I don't know how much, it's usually a lot, not work comp, your health insurance. Health insurance is always a lot. So this is just for the property and casualty side. Buildings, liability, autos, work comp. Now, those numbers, if you're gonna go home, if one of you all is a business owner, you're gonna go home and try to pencil that out tonight. If it's under $1 million in revenue, those numbers don't work quite so well. And if you have a heavy property schedule or a really heavy auto schedule, did I say that twice? Property schedule or auto schedule, that can skew that 1% to 3%. But for most of our low hazard clients, and I don't know that ambulance fits in low hazard, but most of our low hazard clients, that usually works out about right. So if there are no other questions of me, I would like to submit this for your 2024 property and casualty insurance renewal. And that includes the cyber and the crime policy.
Are there any other questions? You need to review this. Are you ready for us to?
It's our only option.
So you see,
We did-
I mean, we have options that
We
cost.
did bring
more.
another option.
Yeah, that cost.
Yeah.
more. And the coverage was different, right?
It was different. It wasn't the guaranteed replacement cost on the buildings. It wasn't agreed value on the autos. We could look at a MOPERM. The last time we looked at MOPERM, it was less, but you had to give up quite a bit. But we could look at a MOPERM option in the future. We wouldn't be able to do it for January 1st. That's something we could look at, down the road.
and this is for the existing equipment that we have now, and then if we add an ambulance, it'll go up.
Yes. Yes, when you increase the exposure, now if we're swapping one out, an old one's going away and a new one's coming in, it's relatively small, yeah. Because we keep those values
The
up.
cost is almost double. The old ones leaving.
So one of the nice things about this program is that we do designated value or agreed value on the ambulances. So when you buy a new one and it's all geared up, what are they now? Roy, Jamie?
330 is what.
Okay, and after you drive them up and down the road about 5 years, what are they worth?
Nothing.
About 30 grand. So when one of those gets wiped out and we've got it insured for 330,000, we can pay up to that amount. We're gonna pay way more than the 30 grand that you'd be worth in the normal insurance market. And that's actually worked out for us back in 2019, even though it wasn't your fault. We got almost 200 grand for an ambulance when someone pulled out, ran a stoplight, where that ambulance might have only been worth 30 grand at the time of the accident.
Okay, I don't see any way around this. You, first rodeo on this stuff, I guess this is the best.
When is this due? We need it in our budget.
We needed insurance coverage as of 1/1/2024.
And this quote, I would have loved to have been here in front of you guys last month. This quote, literally, what was it last week? Time is an enigma. 3
It was
days
in the
ago,
last 2 weeks. I don't know.
we were pushing them all the way, but because they're moving to a new company, we've still got quotes that haven't come out for 1/1, and we're scrambling to get to the meetings. So we got it just as quick as we could.
I, for one, appreciate your research and your knowledge of the business.
Thank you.
And if it's appropriate, I'd make a motion that we approve this for next year's.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you. I need to get a couple signatures. This is just for a statement of values to say we looked at all these values and we think they look good. I would like to offer time if you guys want to get together and think strategy, different options, maybe higher deductibles. I know we looked at that in the past, but maybe even like a self-insured retention, which would be like a $50,000 or $100,000 deductible to try to keep the insurance costs down. I'm happy to schedule time with you guys and sit down and go through that and look for alternatives. Just let me know. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. On to the officer's report, chief's report.
All right, so my report starts on page 3. So the year-to-date call volume for Pettis County is 7,721 versus 2015. Got some They ended up being minor issues with vehicles, but had to have 2 ambulances towed. One from Lee Summit that ejected a spark plug out of the head. It was towed to Warrenford Ford. They got it in, got it fixed, got it back, and it's back on the road. And then another ambulance also rushed to the fuel line. It had to be towed as well. It was taken to Rick Ball where they fixed it and it's back in service. The Command 1 transmission finally got done. It's been back in service for a little while now, but it's doing well. Our vehicle mileages as of the end of last month are listed below. I provided you guys a heat map for last month. It's not a huge change as compared to the one previous to that, but kind of give you an idea of our hot spots as far as calls and call volume. Statistical information about transports by destination, locations of incidents, and reasons for choosing a destination. I also had to do the incidents by hour and day. Thought that might be interesting to see as well. Moving on, as far as promotions go, I think we're almost done. Paramedic FTO John Flutie was promoted to the position of captain. He began his position on December the 4th on C shift. And then paramedic Bobby Sanchez was also promoted to the position of captain, and he began on December 2nd on B shift. Those were the replacements for the battalion chiefs that we had promoted previously. Resignations, the paramedic Kevin Core submitted his resignation from his full-time position. He got his RN certification about a year or 2 ago. He took an RN job in the hospital. He's wished to stay on part-time, so he's going to remain as a part-time employee for us, but he did resign his full-time position. Year-to-date call volume, or the call volume chart is the next page. Total for combined total for both us and Windsor for last month was 754 calls. 663 was for Sedalia, 91 for Windsor. You guys don't have any questions, I'll keep it brief and that's in my report. Oh, and by the way, Donnie's actually sitting right back there in the back of the room. He's a battalion chief now for A shift that I talked about at the last meeting.
Congratulations.
Are there any other questions for Roy? Now we'll move on to the CFO report.
All we have this time is the bills. The summary is on page 9, and then the details follow on pages 10 to 13, and then the credit card statement follows. Any questions on any of those?
Are there any questions on those bills? If not, I'd take a motion to approve payment of outstanding bills.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Move on to unfinished business, the loggers valuation public notice. And we just need to give a public notice for that information was received about loggers. And I think John's going to read that notice for us.
I didn't move it. The Board of Directors of the Pettis County Ambulance District has received cost information for possible membership under the Missouri Local Government Employees Retirement System, loggers. Section 105.675 provides that A, when a political subdivision is adopting coverage with loggers, a prepared statement regarding the cost of adoption of coverage shall be prepared in accordance with section 105.665. B, the statement of cost shall be made available as public information for at least 45 calendar days before taking final action to adopt the change in benefits. And C, the statement of cost shall be filed in the office of the clerk, secretary, or another individual responsible for keeping the official records, and with the Joint Committee on Public Employee Retirement in accordance with section 105.675 revised statutes of Missouri, in compliance with section 105.675, said cost information shall be made available for public inspection for at least 45 calendar days from today prior adoption of the benefit change. Interested parties may view a copy of this cost information at 210 West 4th Street, Sedalia, Missouri 65301, and/or by contacting the Chief Financial Officer, Jamie Lubrin.
On to the first responder capital improvement grant.
We talked about this grant a few weeks ago. This is the one that could provide some funding for building and then also communication equipment, so radios. There is just under 15 million available for this grant, and it's due January 5th. What kind of questions you guys got? I spent 2 hours in a webinar, so I have a lot of information.
So what exactly are you asking for?
So we're gonna ask for, to match the building cost and an estimated cost, whatever that may be. I mean, I think we've estimated in the past $300 per square foot. It was like 1.8, almost 1.9 million is what we had estimated. And then we also have some radio equipment that we're gonna request.
If our expenses go over, then they'll just match up to the amount that they said.
Mhm.
And if they go under, then we refund the difference. Or we
They just
don't
match,
submit as
they
much.
only match 50%.
Where's this money coming from?
It's an ARPA grant, but it's coming through the state Department of Safety. ARPA, so that is American, is it Rescue
Recovery,
Plan?
Rescue
Recovery
plan, yeah.
So it's
It's
government.
COVID, the COVID, from 2020.
Oh, okay,
Some money they didn't spend.
that's our money.
So last
So
year we had a
state.
safety grant. It's what's left over of that money, I believe, that they're now offering. And there's not a max on this grant. It's 50% match. I don't think everybody's gonna get what they ask for because there's a lot of agencies. This involves not just EMS, but it's also fire and police. So it's a lot of agencies.
Is this the one that says that if it does a statewide, there's a statewide advantage?
Yes,
Okay.
state, regional, and you get extra points for having a daycare.
So if we did include classroom, possibly for state fair, we'd be getting more points.
Yeah, maybe. I worked on the grant this morning and I already put, there was regional impact due to not only that Sedalia is kind of a hub for the region as far as people coming to Sedalia every day.
Okay.
And I also put some of that training information in there because we already do. We have students here from all over.
Right.
Okay.
Keep everybody students.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have those already.
Mhm.
Just curious, how much demand for childcare exists in our current staff? Hardly any based on the schedule the style of schedule, or is there still some conflict within?
Have you ever heard anybody wish they had a place for their childcare or something?
I don't know if I've heard personally that anybody wish they had a place for their child, but there is sometimes some scheduling conflict. We have, a couple that works here, they have a child together, that sometimes they're ongoing and offgoing, so they have to pass the child off, so maybe an hour here or there would maybe be beneficial, but I think those are far and few in between.
It's not it's not like they have regular hours.
So, I have children, and they go to childcare, but, we have somebody in town that they go to, so.
So are there any other questions? I would take a motion for Jamie to go ahead and apply for that grant.
So
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. ALS and BLS rates.
So, we looked at it, the rates are, that we commonly had are staying the same. We did, other than the mileage, we did raise the mileage from $13 to $17.60 per mile. And that, for the obvious reasons, fuel's gone up, it will help maybe offset that. We did add 2 new rates, especially care transport. So if we have a critical care paramedic working and they take a transfer that would qualify for that, we can build an insurance company for that skill and for that certification level, which would probably bring us a little bit more revenue in on those types of transports. So if they're going to use a ventilator, have IV drips hanging, which is, we have quite a few of those transports, and if we have somebody qualified riding on the ambulance, we can charge that rate. The other one, which is new all the way around, is the treat no transport. So this year, between us and Windsor, we've had 1,891 calls where we've not transported a patient to the hospital. Historically, we've not been able to bill for any of those calls. So use of the ambulance, time for the cruise, fuel, all that is just expended. So Medicaid, I believe, is now paying for treat no transport. If we show up and do an assessment and take vital signs and get their insurance information, we can bill Medicaid and receive a payment of $252. Now we got to do this across the board because we can't just bill the Medicaid patients. We have to, everybody that calls the ambulance, we show up and we do an assessment, would have to receive a bill. But I think that, with the rough calculation that we got, adding this in and just if a third paid, either through insurance or what have you, we could see a gain of about $140,000 in revenue just from doing this. So the ask is to increase mileage to $17.60 a mile, and then add the specialty care transport at $15.75, and then the treat no transport for $252. I think that's a good advantage, and we're starting to see more and more of those types of calls where we go and help somebody that don't necessarily need to go to the hospital, and then this is a way for us to get some reimbursement back for our services.
Medicare not covered.
Medicare doesn't pay for that yet.
Yeah.
Some insurance companies do, other insurance companies do. I looked, I couldn't find.
And the specialty care transport, $15.75, does that take place of the $8.75 or the $9.75?
Yes.
Okay.
It's first class.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions on the rates? If not, I'd take a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Resolution 2023-09, adopting the annual budget for 2024.
Everybody should have gotten the proposed budget in your packet. Go through that. So the actual budget starts on page 9. So the first line there, that prior year carry forward, that is the items that we budgeted for 2023, capital expense wise, that we haven't done and hope to get done in 2024. Most of that is ambulances that we didn't receive, so we still have those on order. Revenue, our service revenue is pretty much flat. The only difference is the Medicare increase of 2.6%. Special events, we kept the same as last year's budget. Public safety grant, that is not available this year. The DMT revenue, that is what we filed just there at the end of November. That's the actual amount we requested. And then the Windsor annual payment is based on an estimate of their property taxes and sales tax. Any questions on revenue?
It's very conservative, so. Seems like-
Yes.
I noticed in the narrative, this mention of the offering an EMT class, providing approximately 14,400 in revenue and 4,000 of expenses that we talked about. That's an additional 10,000 in revenue. Where does that appear in the budget?
So it's under education EMT on the revenue side, the 14.4.
Okay.
So it's about the fourth line down on revenue, and then the expenses are under training.
Okay, thank you.
And I know the final rules are out, but is the ambulance district gonna get is Medicare gonna give you an increase or a decrease in your rates?
They're still collecting.
They're still, they haven't done the final.
No, there's this year, they're still collecting data over this year. It has to be reported next year. So there'll be a report after that, and then, yeah. Any other questions on revenue? Okay, going to expenses, ambulance operations.
I do have one other question. So we assume current volume will be the same, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This year, it looks like we're gonna have maybe 100 extra calls unless it gets really busy in the next 2 weeks. So. Ambulance operations, ambulance and vehicle fuel, 13,000 has been our largest bill this year. So that's what I took as our estimate for next year. Ambulance and vehicle maintenance, I took this year's actual and added, no, I didn't. I just took 6,500 a month, which is the highest months we had this year for ambulance and vehicle maintenance. Our ambulances are all getting older. I don't know if that's gonna be enough, but that's where I left it. Equipment maintenance, EMS equipment maintenance, I left it about the same as it was last year. Medical waste I increased due to the increase in cost for this year, and the same with oxygen has went up. So I increased that. This year's plus 5%. Credit card machine, we are accepting credit card payments. There is a fee for that, so I've added that in there. They're supposed to make it so we can charge the fee back to the patient, but they haven't been able to do that yet. So as soon as the system gets updated that we use, we'll go ahead and update that and collect that upon your approval. Board training, I got $1,000 in election costs, just based on previous years, 6,500, because we have 2 seats. Capital, if you flip back to page 13, that is the total of all of our equipment capital expenses, and then the details follow. So if you look at page 14, you can see the 3 remounts and 2 new ambulances. The cheapest replacement, the $235,000 ambulance, that's been on order for 2 years. We're supposed to be getting that first quarter.
Hopefully next month.
Next month, January. So, and then we've had the remounts and the other ambulance on order for a year as well. So, in addition to that, the graphics for the PR vehicle that was included last year, we rolled that forward, that hadn't got completed. 2 new command vehicle units to replace, I believe it's the 2010.
Yes,
Hello?
in the 17, which is still, we're not getting rid of the 17, but it's getting high enough in mileage. This is when we just replace the transmission, and then we're gonna roll it over into a staff car where it's not up and down the highway and running so hard anymore, and kind of try to extend its life. But we want to get something new for the battalion chiefs that is going to be dependable, and start trying to conserve the mileage on the ones, the higher mileage.
And those mileages are on page 4 of all the units that we have. That 65,000 includes not just the vehicle, but all of the upgrades that have to be done, the lights, the sirens, computer equipment. What else is in there?
Like sirens, computer equipment, and
That big thing in the back.
yeah, the box in the back. That's it. So basically, that's everything that it's going to need to run out the door.
Page 15 is radio equipment. That includes portable radios and mobile radios, as well as a repeater. Page 16 is our IT equipment. That's really just replacing the CAD units and all the new units that we have ordered. And then there is 1 unit that still needs the Ace Tech equipment that was budgeted for this year. We're still waiting on parts to get that installed. And then the router replacements, we're still waiting for, how many of those? I don't remember. And that was budgeted for in 2023, this hasn't. Page 17, medical equipment. We need 1 additional stair chair. And then the binder list that we've talked about for years and years and years, we still have not got those. We were gonna get a grant from work comp on those, and we all just got so busy that we didn't have time to work on that grant, so. I don't know if we'll try for that grant, because it was a lot of work. It was required so much legwork on the beginning that I'm not sure that it's worth putting in that amount of work. Station equipment, we've got a medication refrigerator, training mannequins, that is CPR mannequins, and then mattresses, box springs. And then the last page is our buildings. So we have 845,000 we have budgeted for Station 3. The radio wiring updates to HQ and TT Highway, those were both budgeted for in 2023, but have not been completed. We're just waiting on the vendor, as well as the sprinkler extension and the 5-year internal inspection. I did add an HVAC contingency because we had 2 units. Last year we had to replace, 1 in this building and 1 across the street. All of the units across the street are at the same age, so I just went ahead and put a contingency in there that we might have to replace a unit. And hopefully it's just 1. Any questions on any of that?
Okay, again, I've had a conversation with you, so 845, that is
What we've got budgeted previously for the building.
correct. And we think it's gonna cost more, because all of our estimates are higher. Does that include the purchase of the property as well?
Mhm.
Okay, and is the purchase of the property gonna be included in the grant?
It will, yes, because it'll be part of the cost match.
Okay, and if we do not get the grant, then we would come back and revise our budget to the projected.
When do we know on that grant?
It says it'll be awarded in January, but we've seen in the past, they've said they're gonna award something in January, and takes longer than what they think, so. I would say March would be optimistic. Because I pushed back the date of the grant that was due till January. It was due in December, so it's gotta be at least February, so I'm gonna guess March.
Is the 911 cost in here somewhere?
Yes, yeah, we haven't got that far, but yeah.
Okay.
So that was just capital. So we're back to page 10. That's the $2,179,017.56. That was all the capital we just went over. Collection fees, I kept that budgeted the same. Basically, the rest of this communication dispatch, here's the dispatch fees. You guys haven't voted on that yet, but I just
Okay.
put the increased amount in the budget. EMS radio equipment, radio repair, and then telephone and internet. I did increase the telephone and internet just slightly at 45,000. Dues and subscriptions. That's just an estimate at 15,000. The long-term, short-term dental, employee, vision, health insurance, HSA, and HRA are all of the benefits that you guys have approved. The difference in benefits was, we went to Blue Cross Blue Shield. That was a cost-effective option we had. That changed our deductible on the HSA from 3,000 to 3,200. That was the IRS limits. I had to change it. So to keep deductibles the same for all employees, that would be a $700 contribution to the HSA. And then it's still a $2,500 contribution to the HRA. And the HRA is only if it's used. The HSA gets put in each pay period. So it's pro rata. If somebody leaves, they don't get the whole $700. They only get what they worked here for. Any questions on all that?
You've done open enrollment on your,
We have not done an open enrollment. We're waiting for the system to be updated for the new insurance, so that we will. Yeah, so I'm hoping.
just curious how much flipping you had.
Yeah, I don't know. Last year we had an increase in HSA. People going to the HSA. We're up to 20 people on the HSA, where it used to be about 5. So.
That's good for us. Usually.
Yes. And the retirement contributions, that's increased significantly. Payroll expenses, that is a 2% increase on wages, plus adding a full-time EMS instructor. We had a part-time budgeted for 2023, and we haven't gotten a part-time person. So that, and then we're adding 3 full-time positions. So we've been staffing. You want to explain this part?
Yeah, so we staff 8 trucks per day. Out of those 8 trucks, one of the ambulances has had an open EMT spot that we initially, the hope was to provide our part-time staff with hours to keep them interested in working and staying here. That has not proved to work out the way that we want it to. What ends up happening is we end up paying out overtime to cover those positions. I would rather take the money, staff us 100%, and then we dip into overtime when it's absolutely necessary to fill the position. Instead of it just being something that we just have to do every month on consistent days. Now I don't know how it balances out as far as paying benefits for more people versus the overtime will pay out, but I feel like it would be beneficial to the district to go ahead and staff us 100%, and that way when we build the schedule at the beginning of the month, the only thing we have to deal with is vacation time and sick calls. And that way it assures us that we are always 100% staffed. And it'll reduce our overtime costs.
So those costs, go ahead.
What percentage of our salaries is overtime?
A lot. So, just, I think I grabbed them all here, nope. So about 1.5 million for this year was overtime out of our 4.2.
So
What is the root cause of the overtime? Is it the structure of the schedule? Is it the nature of the beast?
That's part of it.
Is there an alternative scheduling?
I mean, there are alternative schedulings, but at the end of the day, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have to pay more people. It's not gonna necessarily save you any money. It'll save you on the overtime cost, but you're gonna end up paying more people. And so you're gonna end up eating that overtime cost savings up by making the shifts less. And
benefits, you have more employees on benefits.
Yeah,
Correct.
additional insurance costs and stuff like that.
so, and our current shift schedule is beneficial to us because it is an attractor for people to come work here. I mean, there's only a percentage that actually live in the Pettis County area. Everybody else travels in. So if you went to and the only way you're gonna save overtime is go to a 12-hour shift. You're gonna lose all those people because it's not gonna be feasible for them to drive in for 12 hours from 2 hours away or an hour, even an hour away.
But if this new paramedic program goes through and we get local people trained, will that change, or are we still gonna drag them from 2 hours away?
I think we would still drag them from 2 hours away, because I mean, it'd be a process. I mean, we're gonna do EMT courses and then get the people through paramedic school. I mean, it would all take.
if I heard you, we tried the PRN and part-time,
Correct.
and we can't get the PRN part-time.
I mean, we do our best to, but I
Right.
mean, those guys are committed to their full-time
Just
jobs.
have your orientation and stuff
Right.
that you have to do with those as well.
Right. So I mean, it's gonna
Training
cost,
costs.
it's gonna cost
Right.
more on the benefits end, but it's gonna save us on the overtime end. And hopefully, I hope it not only balances out, but kind of goes the other way and kind of maybe saves some money.
How many FTEs do we have? Full-time, how many people are receiving benefits?
56. So where are you gonna see those additional costs?
So it's gonna go to 59, correct? Is that what I heard? We're gonna
It'd be
increase
60
3.
because it's 4, because of the
Oh.
full-time trainer and then the 3 other positions. So the increase in those costs is showing up in the benefits. I didn't change anything in wages because we're already paying somebody to fill those positions. It's just adding the benefit cost.
Also, if we would cut down to 12-hour shifts instead of our 48s, you would also have to raise your hourly rate to reflect the loss in pay on the overtime rate that our employees are getting, which would then be drawn to other places that would still pay that overtime, So a paramedic that makes, $20 an hour, we would probably have to raise it to $30 or $35 an hour just to make up for that time and a half they're missing, 30, 35 might be overtime, but
Adding over 50% to cover that little bit of overtime.
But what I'm getting at, we would have to subsidize that overtime somehow to make.
So it's pretty much, it's a guaranteed overtime when you sign on to work here.
It is,
Oh, yeah.
yes, sir. Yes.
And it seems that's what keeps a lot of them here. We don't have a lot of turnover.
And fires actually changed into that, Sedalia Fires changed into a 48-hour schedule as well, starting
So
January 1st.
I wondered how the other surrounding ambulance districts schedule their people.
The only places that do 12-hour shifts across the board are your really busy systems. So like Kansas City, Independence, St. Joseph, Columbia, but they run so many calls that there's no way that you could expect somebody to be there for 24 hours.
So what are the criteria you use to determine overtime? Is it every hour after 8, is it, or is it
40.
40 for the
Just
week?
Everybody.
Okay, yeah.
The same rules as everybody else.
That varies by the schedule, so that some weeks it's more and some weeks
So
it's
generally
less.
it's 2 weeks or 2 pay periods. I apologize, 2 pay periods at 16 hours overtime, so 8 each week. And then the third pay period, it's 144 hours for that third pay period.
So it'll be 64 hours of overtime. That's when they're on their long checks. They get, and usually when they roll into the weekends is when that goes up. There's only one out of 3, there's only one.
So every third check is a larger check.
You don't have any of your staff that's grown accustomed to getting that extra.
I mean,
It's-
we may, but I mean,
That's what's scheduled. That's just scheduled hours.
That's-
That's not extra hours. That's just their scheduled hours. So it's about 37.5%.
And when they accept the extra hours, those are all overtime hours?
Yes.
So that would be the real challenge, would be to eliminate the necessity of having to issue extra hours.
Yes.
In
That's what
essence,
that staff.
hiring the new staff will actually reduce overtime.
correct.
So you're,
I'm catching on.
yeah, so you're basically at 21% benefits, you're eliminating 50% with the overtime, so you are saving money.
Okay.
Assuming you can get it filled. So, and then the question I have here is the large increase in retirement, is that longer?
It's budgeted for an increase to 7%. It's an average of 7%, yes.
But that's loggers is included in there,
Yes,
in the 360,
the lowest level,
lowest level of loggers.
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? That's about 60% of our budget, those line items there, the employee costs, is about 60% of our budget, so.
Pettis County is loggers, City of Sedalia is loggers. How many ambulance districts around are loggers?
What did I tell you, there's 70 in the
Yeah.
state.
70 ambulance districts.
But Warsaw Lincoln has loggers, Johnson
Yeah.
County has loggers, those will be the one right adjacent to us too, you know, that are
That'd be-
bordering us.
That'd be a huge draw to offer that, correct? I mean, if there's 70 in the state, but it's a disadvantage for us not to have.
If you're gonna steal other people's employees, you gotta have it.
We just
Yeah,
want
because
to
they
get
can
one.
transfer. you.
That's right, they could transfer, keep the same system.
Anything else about wages, benefits? Okay, moving down, mileage reimbursement, that's the same as we budgeted previous years. Employee recognition, that is EMS Week Awards Banquet. What am I missing, Flo?
I think there's,
Accommodation.
accommodation is in that there too,
Yeah.
yes.
So if we've been way under that, why do we have to kick it up another $1,600 then? We're just anticipate more employee recognition next year.
So the coins, we only got 1 this year instead of 2, correct?
Yeah,
And that is the difference for this year. Background checks, functional capacity, pre-employment and random drug testing, that again is all staying the same. Uniforms, I just took our number of employees times 400, that's the 30,400. Computer purchases, that's replacements of computers that Ryan has scheduled, computer repair equipment. That has increased last year, so we budgeted for 10,000 for 2024. And then the software has increased. A lot of that is due to having billing all year instead of half the year this year, because that's $3,000 a month that we pay for that. We have upgraded our email system as well, which is an increase. We've got budgeted to update our website as well in that increase. And then it's just the increase in all the softwares have increased dramatically over this last year, so.
And you get all the firewall stuff you need.
Insurance, so this is a little higher than what he presented tonight, but this was the number he gave me prior to getting the renewal, or not, yes, the renewal. The 215,000. And then I budgeted for 5,000 for deductibles. Last year, you guys approved if something is $2,500 or less on the autos to go ahead and replace it, so that's basically 2 of those. Work comp, I kept the same. We won't know our rates or get a renewal on our rates until April, so. And we've been under budget too on work comp so far. Shredding service, this year we purged a bunch of old billing records, which what the increase was, but I went ahead and budgeted for that increase for us to be able to get rid of, you know, anything else we need to purge, because we're at 10 years, there's probably some records, maybe not, but there might be some records that we need to purge, so.
So with your billing, that's all electronic, you scan all that, so you don't have to.
Yeah, most everything's done. The trip reports come automatically, electronically. I mean, there's still some faxing and some mailing, things like that.
Remittances and that, but.
That all
no
comes
different.
electronically.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's very little really like for the billing records. Office supplies, that did increase because of bringing the billing in-house. Postage hasn't increased too much because our software actually mails all of our statements for us. So that's increased just a little bit, but not much. 2,000 employee meetings, that's mostly Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner for the staff that are working. Advertising and promotion includes all the bids we do. Just blank the board positions, anything else that we advertise for, but that's most of it is the things that we're required to advertise. Excise tax, that is for our HRA, we have to pay an excise tax in our 125 plan. Janitorial is for the cleaning and also the mats and stuff that we pay to send to us. License and permits, I don't foresee any, but something little usually pops up. Like the license fees on the new ambulances and things like that. Supplies, we've been staying under budget at 30,000, so I've left it at 30,000. Professional fees, accounting CPA, that's our audit. This is the last year we have a bid for the audit, so next year I'll have to go out, but that's what our bid is, the 15,142. Attorney fees, again, we've been under budget on that, but we're not done with labor negotiations yet this year, so that's may go into next year a little bit. Attorney retainer, that is Frank Flash Polar. It was $950 last year. The medical director fee, I haven't heard from Dr. Gus, but it's been $24,000 for 10 years. So you can see the decrease there in the patient billing expense. That's fully $0 this year. And then professional fees, other, in our contract with Zoll, we signed, had some consulting in there after 6 months for them to come and see our processes, sit with our billers, go through our CQI process, our compliance plan, all of those things to make our billing process as efficient as we can. So that is the cost for that. It's $7,500 plus up to $2,000 for travel. Public relations, $3,000. Last year we had that in there for the 10-year celebration. We left $3,000 in there. Repairs and maintenance. I upped the education building, but we did put that 10,000 contingency in the capital. I also upped, actually I kept TT the same and the main building the same because this year that increase was due to the HVAC repairs. Windsor, I kept it 2,000 because we've been under budget there. Rent expense is just the water softeners now. TIF expense has increased due to adding businesses in the TIF district. And then training, peer counseling, training, mental health, we put that in there last year. It didn't get used, but we never know when there's gonna be an incident that we do need to use that, so we kept that in the budget. Roy requested to add the paramedic training. That pays for 2 people to go to paramedic school. Adjunct instructors, 500, that's if we have somebody come in and teach a class. Community outreach training, 1,000. Conferences and outside courses, we have 7,900. EMT class materials, that is there, that 4,000. Management and supervisor training, that included some additional items, that included, you wanna talk about the ones you requested?
So up until now, we haven't done any formalized training for any of the battalion chiefs, any of the captains. And I'm asking to send Flo, Justin, and the 3 battalion chiefs to, it's called the Ambulance Service Manager Program. Unless we can find one in Kansas City, and they do have them there occasionally. Maybe next year, they'll have to travel, but it's basically a 2-week course with then project work in the middle of it. Eric and I both went through that class back in 2017, 2018. I can't remember exactly which year it was. It was a very, very beneficial class. It teaches you a lot from basically the ground up of how to run an ambulance service, deal with different things, deal with HR issues, deal with people, and do it correctly. I feel like it'd be beneficial for all these guys that have to deal with people on a daily basis to have that information, have that training. It is a bit expensive, but it's a one-time, and hopefully we're done for a little while type of training.
I was looking at that line and we had budgeted, what, 11,305. We went way over that this year at 16,600, and then I saw that we're tripling the request for next year, so I was wondering what was in that pile there.
Yeah, and then the other thing is the captains, the ones I just talked about, those guys are in the same boat. And now I don't want to send them to as extensive training or expensive training as what this ambulance service manager program is, but there is another program offered by the same firm. It's called Beyond the Streets, and that's kind of your entry level supervisor manager type training that would be beneficial for those guys as well. Basically, you can do these courses that I've been to throughout the years where you're going with restaurant managers, you're going with store managers, Walmart people. This industry is a different animal when it comes to dealing with those types of different things. It gives you some good ideas and some good education, but it's not as good as the things that we have to deal with and the things that's going to end up keeping us out of court, out of lawsuits, out of all the different things. Because I mean, it goes from everywhere from fleet management to HR issues to billing issues to malpractice issues, and how to identify and take care of those types of situations. And like I said, it's going to be a heavy lift for next year, but hopefully next year will be the only year that we have to worry about doing that.
And it's in Seattle or Tampa or?
Well, the one coming up in February is in San Antonio. When I went, they actually had it in Kansas City, so we just had to go to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
But they travel around the US.
You can get by without those key individuals for 2 weeks?
We'll have to we're gonna have to split it up. We can't send them all at one time.
So it's offered several times in San Antonio?
No, not in San, they travel from place to place. And like I said, I'm hoping that maybe we send a couple to San Antonio, and then maybe they have it in Kansas City, and we can send.
No, mine's gonna be in Florida.
But I mean, it's San Antonio, Kansas City. I think they may have had one in Florida at one point. California was another place they had it. They just travel to different spots.
So part of your rationale is that although this costs money, it will save us money from things that don't happen.
Yes.
So of that
But-
training budget, we have 25,000 is budgeted for the ASM. And 3,000 for Beyond the Street. And then we have, ABC 360. I just have the live stream, so that's no travel, it's just online. That's for all the billers, plus everybody that has a certification. So I have 2 certifications, but only 1 live stream for me because it covers all my training. Roy has 1, Katie has 1, and then Charlotte and Lena have 1. So we've got 5 that will be going, not really going, but watching the live stream. So that's $4,925. My annual CPE, I do have the Zoll Summit in there for 3 people. We don't know if they are going to have one, but I budgeted just in case, because that is part of why it went over. We didn't budget to go to the Zoll Summit this year, but we thought it was important with bringing billing in-house to go to the summit, and it was beneficial. So I do have that budgeted. We don't know if that'll be in there. And then I do have budgeted for several MAA conferences, the fall and summer. I've got 8 budgeted for that, so that's 4 and 4. Sometimes they cover billing, sometimes they cover more operational, just depending on what they have, so. And then Ryan has training in there for $1,500 as well. So that's the $47,925. That is what all of that is.
Thank you.
You had a question?
Yeah, and you said, so like for your, well, how many new people do you have dealing with HR? Hiring, evals?
So you got 3 battalion chiefs, you have Flo, you have Justin, so you have 6.
But new to the 8, doing evals and.
Yeah, because I mean, because previously, well, and none of these individuals, like, you know, Justin's been a division chief for quite some time, but he's never been to any type of formalized training. That's what I'm trying to get past here. I want everybody to have a formalized.
Get that HR and get that, well,
Everybody
we saw that in
same
the proposal, how much it is for employment on the insurance side. That was one of the largest increases.
Yeah. Just wanted to justify it, is all.
And then on your 16,200 for paramedic school, is that, okay, hey, we're gonna pay your paramedic school, but you need to work for us for X amount of years?
Correct.
That, and or else you have to repay?
Correct.
50 years.
That might be a little steep.
But and the thing behind.
Do we have a policy on that one?
No, not yet. We have to.
We'll have to do one. You know, the thing on that is it's the same with doing the EMT classes. You know, the ambulance service in general, we haven't seen a staffing crisis locally, thank goodness. Those around us have. But the industry in itself is on the brink of staffing crisis because we're all getting older and eventually we're all going to retire. We're not going to be able to do it anymore. And there's not enough people going through these programs to backfill all the people that are going to end up leaving. I feel like if we can start teaching EMT programs, picking the ones out of those programs that come through here, and then take our good EMTs that we have across the street working currently through whatever process we develop for selection, send them to paramedic school, we're going to be doing our part to help combat this crisis.
And you have that, yeah. You have some of this,
We can't put any of that in there.
no, but I mean, as far as training. So,
There's no grant that I'm aware of.
no, I thought it was,
No, it's capital improvement grant is the only.
okay.
The remainder of the training is training material, which is the training software that we have, which is about $8,000 a year. And then all of the cards for all of the alphabet soup classes, PALS, ACLS, what else? BLS.
BLS, PLS, MLS, all the different.
In addition to the new driving course, SIVO. is also included in that 19,000. So our training is increased significantly over last year. But those are all the various pieces of that. We're almost done. Utilities, we've kept flat. We've actually been under budget on all of those. I'm surprised that we're under on gas, but it must have decreased or got warm faster than we expected last year. But we have been under on all of the rest of our utilities every year. Non-operating revenue, I did decrease interest income because if we do get the building built, that's gonna decrease our cash reserves. So it's gonna decrease our interest. And then the rebate is at 2,000. Or actually 2,200, sorry. And that would leave us a net of 9,700 approximately. Any other, I mean, I know we discussed, we went, but anything else you guys have questions on that? I would present that for your approval.
Any other questions on the budget? I'll take a motion to approve that resolution to adopt the budget.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a motion to go into closed session pursuant to RSMO 610.021, sections 1, 2, and 9.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, and that'll be roll call.
Brown,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Turkey,
Yes.